Good evening and welcome to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen Workshop. It is February 25th, 2021. We're going to open up first with the Citizens Forum. We have 2 people signed up. Once you're called on, please come up to the front podium, state your name and address for the record, and then you will be given 3 minutes to speak. First, we have Steve McGill.
Hi, Steve McGill, 177 Blair Road, Laverne, Tennessee. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your attention tonight. I have spoken with each of you personally over the last few weeks, except for Ms. Brown, who I hope to be able to speak with before the vote next week. You all know my position and my passion, so I won't dwell on that tonight. Can't make any promises for next week, however. Tonight, I will focus on 3 primary areas of concern: density and property value concerns, appropriateness and viability of retail, and transparency around the road improvements. For density, I believe everyone would agree that Laverne on the west side of I-24 has thrived in recent years. There's no doubt that being in Stewart's Creek School Zone has supported our ever-increasing property values. I also believe that people have found safe, comfortable neighborhoods, which have been repeated several times. BRS is asking us to take a chance on a very different model of building. Have you walked a 40-foot lot? Have you looked at what a maximum of 10 feet between houses looks like? Is that the lifestyle people have been flocking to the areas like the Ridge to replicate? I spoke with 3 of you before the last election. The mayor was already in place. However, all 3 of you told me that multifamily did not belong on the west side of I-24 and that it would kill the golden goose. BRS has increased multifamily to 50% of the total homes. I've seen emails from Bruce Richardson where he doesn't even think the HOA arrangement they're proposing is legal. I'm asking you to hear your citizens' voices and not disrupt our prospering community with unproven multifamily housing. On the appropriateness and viability of retail, based on my conversations with BRS, the city wanted retail in the project. Others have said that BRS doesn't even believe it will be successful, but they did not say that to me. I do know that I heard Mr. Hahn say there can be too much grocery for the demographics, and that if we don't move on this opportunity quickly, we will lose out. BRS' own timeline doesn't have retail coming for 6 years. How are we not going to lose out to Nolensville, who already has Publix and Kroger scouting locations and presenting plans? It doesn't pass the sniff test. We will have at least 8 to 9 gas stations within 1.5 miles of this location. Do you really think Laverne is going to get a Sprouts before Nolensville or Smyrna? What financial demographics lead you to this conclusion? I've heard from the mayor and Mr. No that retail is what makes this project exciting and different. Well, the retail was always in this project when everyone was against it. Granted, the new property on the other side of Waldron wasn't. In summary, I'm asking you not to listen to the siren song of retail in the oddest place imaginable. Fix the existing retail corridors. Lastly, I want to talk about the road improvements and the transparency or lack of transparency around them. I've been told by the mayor if we allow multifamily, BRS will provide $3.5 million of road improvements.
Mr. McGill, your time is up. Thank you. Next, we have Luann Grandinetti.
And I too am here regarding Arbor Ridge.
Would you state
Good
your
evening.
name and address for the record, please?
Okay. My name is Luann Grandinetti, 153 Blair Road. Good evening, Mayor, Alderwoman, and Aldermen, and staff. I have resided here with my family on Blair Road since 1989 when we built our forever home on 3.4 acres. We knew that someday the 200 acres across Blair Road would be developed into residential. We did not fathom that it would include commercial and 654 units. Sitting on my front porch several times a day, between 2,000 and 3,000 vehicles drive on this 2-lane road with no shoulders and with at least 4 vertical and horizontal curves. When there's an event on I-24, guess what? Blair Road is an alternative route. My driveway is at the lowest point of that first vertical curve. I've seen and heard at least 10 incidents there and 3 additional hitting or near missing my husband and myself, getting our mail and weed eating our property. This proposal only addresses 3/10 of a mile of Blair Road. beginning at Waldron. Question, will you take care of the safety of thousands of citizens on our side of the city by addressing the road hazards on all of Blair Road, regardless of rezoning? This PDR is fraught with problems. It will scalp 220 acres, including 20 acres of woodlands, to be replaced with houses, duplexes, decorative bushes, and shrubs. Question, why did you and your planning staff not ask the developer to include a more pastoral green plan that fits our community? You asked them to include commercial. Why not other aspects? Forgive me, but that doesn't sound like leadership, I apologize for that, or representation. And I might add, this is the first time we've been able to comment publicly about this. We've had to sit through, during the developer's 1 hour each time presentation at the workshop in the Planning Commission, and only shake our heads. In fact, I was shushed once when I clapped. Per city planning guidelines, we have been shut out of the planning process and can only comment after the plan has been fully finalized. If you drive from I-24 in Waldron to this area, the last commercial business is the car wash at the three-way. There is no retail past the Laverne city limits within a 2-mile radius. None. Why would you place commercial down the middle of what is clearly all residential? Some of you have been sold a bill of goods. You say it will add revenue to the city with the inclusion of commercial, but what if the commercial does not come? Worse yet, if retail stores are built and the population does not support it, we have vacant storefronts in a strip mall. This development will permanently change our community. There will be no reversal. Consider our valid and extremely important points when deciding the biggest decision the city has made on my behalf since I moved here in 1989. I have copies of my
Ma'am,
remarks,
your time up. Your time is up.
questions. Done. I timed it. And I ran out of the house with house shoes on. So shall I give it to you? Okay, thank you. There are 3 pages each.
Thank you, ma'am. With that, the citizens forum is closed. Moving on to the workshop agenda. The prayer Tuesday night will be with Alderman Waldron. The Pledge of Allegiance will be by Alderman No. Should all have a copy of the minutes from the February 2nd, 2021 regular meeting. First presentation we have is the audit presentation by Greg Howell. I believe we have him virtually here with us. Greg, are you with us? Bruce, do we have him?
Yes, he's on. I'm trying to unmute him.
Almost. We're trying to get you in here to the room instead of in the soundboard. Jerry, is there anything on your end you can do so we can hear him in here? Just a minute, Greg. We can't really hear you in the boardroom if you can hear me. Bruce, is there anything on your end we can do?
No, it's all on Jerry's end with the system.
It's Jerry's fault.
Greg, can you hear us?
If I may make a suggestion while they getting everything, out, why don't we just go ahead and move on to the presentation?
You mean to move on to the fire department pinning ceremony?
Yeah, the ceremony, yeah.
That would probably be better while Jerry works on that. Chief Beasley.
Can y'all hear me? All right, thank you for tonight. We're going to have a badge pinning ceremony for 6 new hires and 3 promotions. It's always an exciting time whenever we have new hires come on board. It gives an opportunity for, obviously, the new people coming and having a new job and having a great opportunity to join an organization such as ours, a great fire department. But it also helps the morale of the department because they start to invest in their new comrades. They're starting to share what they know, so it's a good time. We also have 3 promotions, and representation of the family members here tonight shows the support that the families have had for all these people as they've studied and prepared for their new jobs and their promotions. So it's my honor to start tonight with the promotion, or the new hires. Who do we have first, sir? Mr. Robert Bassick. Want your chief to take the pen? We'll allow that. He chose his battalion chief rather than me. This will be the first time that I've pinned, so it may be a painful ceremony. So, all right, Jonathan Abushi. Chief. Yes, sir. Just your honor. I wear one every day. You think I could do that? Gotta take that off. Nick Lansafane. John Partridge. You can tell the family members are pinning the badges or their mentors, and I think it's important to give back to those that have invested so much in them. Javon Vidu. Austin Zimbrogel. So the first two were part of our group that we hired in the fall, and they have just finished their probation. So we're going to combine their badge pinning with the group that was just hired. So they've trained those last 2 weeks. A couple of days in the snow last week, but they've worked hard this week, and we're really proud to have them on board. I also have 3 promotions, beginning with our engineer, Ms. Brittany Berry. Before I give this to her, she's our first female engineer. It's quite an accomplishment as a driver. It's also her first days of driving were in what condition? I was not going to tell anybody. Promotion to the rank of lieutenant, Sam Christopher. All right, our last promotion of the night, last badge pinning, will be promoted to the rank of battalion chief, Alan McCormick. For those of you who don't know, this will be the second Chief McCormick that the city of Laverne has had. His brother, former fire chief, passed away several years ago, and this is an honor. Is that my fault or your fault? Chief McCormick's wife is also a city employee, Bree. So. If y'all would, we're going to do a swearing in ceremony, so we'll just ask y'all to come up here. We'll do the oath. All right. Now, we've not practiced this, but when I say I, you state your name, okay? All right, raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the duties as a firefighter of the City of Laverne, State of Tennessee, and will do my best of my ability to protect and defend the Constitution, the laws of the United States, in this state, and the charter and ordinances of this city. So help me God. Congratulations.
All you firemen
firefighters and fire ladies, thank you. I've got a hitch in my giddy up, so I couldn't get up and give you an ovation. Still not working?
They're working on the sound.
Oh, we still doing that?
So we're gonna circle back over and see if we have Greg Howell who we can hear now, and can hear us. Jerry, are we up and going?
We're waiting on him to call in on the phone.
Okay. We are going to come back to the audit and go ahead and tackle, of course, we'll have department reports on Tuesday. Then we'll have old business, Ordinance 2021-03, amendment for the general fund budget. This is for accepting money from Scott Equipment, approximately $2,500. We're going to transfer $15,000 from the police training line to the police canine line. So, and all accounts for the $2,500 donation from Scott Equipment. This is second reading, so we did vote on this and discuss it last month. Is there any questions about this? Okay, we'll go ahead and tackle the consent agenda. Ms. Felicia?
Good evening, Mayor and Alderman. The first item is the lighting and electrical work for the city. This is for the ball field lighting, any lighting that our maintenance crew cannot get to, and any electrical work. And we had some questions, and after asking all the questions we had, we agreed that S&W should be awarded that contract. Any questions? Okay, next, janitorial. We had two that pretty much completed it. Lebanon Chemicals, prices were a whole lot less, they were a whole lot more reasonable. And since we have a contract with them already, we recommend that we just stay with them. The next one is the meters, the Badger water meters. This is pretty much a sole source because we have the Badger, that's the system we have in place already. So we have to have the meters to go along with it, and you'll see there's a sole source justification letter with that. No questions? Okay, then we have the office supplies. I found out the state of Tennessee left Staples and went with Office Depot. Well, that's not very convenient for us because a lot of people go over to Staples. And I found them under Sourcewell contract, so I'm wanting to piggyback the Sourcewell contract, or actually go with the Sourcewell contract, if that's okay with you all.
We believe in you, Felicia.
I'm trying my
We
best
believe in you.
to keep up with it all.
Okay, thank you, Felicia. Next up, we're going to have B, approve entertainment contract, Old Timers Day Festival, the Eagle Maniacs. This is a contract for the Eagle Maniacs to perform at this year's Old Timers Festival. The total is $5,500 for the contract, and it's payable the night of the performance. Is there any questions? Moving on to C, approve contract with Notable Occasions to provide DJ and lighting for the block party on May 22nd, 2021. This is for music for the block party. The contract price is $450 with a non-refundable $225 deposit, with the remainder being paid at the event. Any questions? Moving on to D, approve advertising contract with Midwest Communications, which is also Jack FM, for the block party on May 22nd, 2021. This is a contract with Jack FM, and the price is $500. Is there any questions?
Is that also non-refundable?
Yes, that should be non-refundable, but What they'll actually do is add us to their activities pages. So once they get the contract, they'll go ahead and add our event to their web page. It's not really a commercial type deal, kind of like we did for OTF, but occasionally they do give mentions of events that are happening in and reference their activities page.
Any other questions?
Thank you, David.
E, approve amendment with pyro shows for the July 4th, 2021 Independence Day Celebration Fireworks Show. And there's no financial impact unless something happens with this, and the liability cost is over $5 million. Any questions about this? F, approve use agreement with Youth Incorporated for the 2021 Inline Hockey League. And this is a contract, obligation is $500 payable to the city. This is for, they operate the Inline Hockey League. Any questions? Moving on to G, approve use agreement with the Rutherford County Crimson Tide Youth Football and Cheerleading League. Again, this is one that we do almost every year. Contractual obligation will increase to $4,000 from $2,000. Is there any questions?
They're getting ready to start this, aren't they, David?
They are. This contract is gonna basically double in length from 5 months to 10 months. We're gonna try to implement a 7-on-7 league. I think that's the next biggest thing in this area. So contract's gonna run from March through the end of December.
Any other questions? Moving on to H, approve technology and services agreement with Benefit Express Services LLC. There is no additional cost for this. This is a service that allows enrollment, changes, additions electronically, and it feeds directly to Blue Cross Blue Shield, HealthScope, Insolve, which is our COBRA vendor, and so let's basically our employees do that electronically. Any questions?
Hold on, Greg. He's finishing up some items.
I, approve water line easement from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers for the 24-inch water line along Stones River Road. The cost of this easement is $7,500. This has been talked about now for quite a while. I want to personally thank Lynn Davis with Representative Desjardins' office. She has helped remove a lot of the red tape and get us to this point where we actually have this back. There are some minor typos with it, such as zip code and dates. That should be resolved tomorrow. If it is not resolved before we get to the Tuesday meeting, then we'll move this from the consent agenda. Is there any questions?
Which side of the road is that on, man, of interest on Stones River Road? Is it on the core property?
This is going to go down Stones River Road from the roundabout.
Roundabout, okay.
But I think, but it is gonna be on core property.
This is going to be in the road.
The road is actually on core property, so it's gonna be in the roadway, the west travel lane for most part. But, like I say, the road is on core property, so yes, it will be on core property, but it's in the road.
Any other questions? Moving on to J, approved purchase agreement with the U.S. Canine Unlimited LLC. The cost for this is $16,500. This is a new canine to replace Jacques, and this will get us a new canine unit. Any questions?
Have they got one picked out, or it's too early?
We do. Lieutenant Paul, Justin Darby, and Lewis Powell went to Kaplan, Louisiana, was about 4 weeks ago, and they looked at some dogs, and they do have one picked out. We actually have until the 5th to send back the purchasing agreement on it. I would tell you the name now, but I want it to be a big surprise.
That was my next question, but I guess.
I'll go ahead and tell you. Should I tell them? The new dog's gonna be named Turbo.
Turbo.
Yeah.
How's he look?
Looks pretty much like the rest of the dogs, like the Belgians that we have already.
Okay.
Yeah, so Justin's real excited about it. I saw him walk out to the police department a couple of days ago with his binders already in place and everything, so we're looking forward to it.
The same kind of dog as Jacques?
Yes. Mhm. I think it's a little bit lighter.
Jacques was a Dutch Shepherd.
Okay, and this is a Belgian, yeah. So it's a little bit-
Turbo. I like that. Thank you, Chief.
Any other questions? Okay, before going on to new business, do we have Greg Howell on the line?
Go ahead, Greg.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you, sir. So if you would like to take us through the audit presentation, we can hear you now.
I can hear you a little bit. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. I hope I hadn't caused too much disruption. I am Greg Howell with Erie Howell and Associates, and I appreciate you allowing me to be at the meeting virtually during these strange times we're in. Can everybody still hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. All right, we'll carry on. Well, I'm going to present the June 30th, 2020 audit report. Your report did receive an unmodified opinion, which means that is the highest level of opinion you can receive. It means your financial statements are in conformance with generally accepted accounting principles. As you're aware, your prior year report received the Government Finance Officer Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting. This means your report meets the highest standards in reporting, and you go far beyond the minimum in providing financial information to your citizens. This demonstrates the city's importance placed on good financial management. We believe this year's report continues to meet those high standards. I prepared some graphs which summarizes some of the financial highlights and trends for the year. So if we'll look at the first graph, it should be titled Revenues for 2020. These are the general government revenues, which means it does not include the water and sewer fund. Local taxes made up 70.3% of your revenues. That's made up of your property taxes, your business taxes, local option sales taxes, beer and liquor taxes, hotel taxes, franchise taxes. This amounted to about $21 million for the year. That was up $1.7 million from what it was in the prior year. Intergovernmental revenues were about 18.8%. That was about $5.6 million. It was up about $350,000 from the prior year. That's primarily made up of your state shared revenues and any grants that you received. Fines and penalties were about 1%. They were the only revenue source that was down. And that was due to the COVID and court systems being closed for some time. That was down about $300,000 from what it was in the previous year. So your total governmental revenues for the year were about $29.8 million. That's up about $1.87 million from what it was in the prior year. So really, you had an outstanding year in light of, even in spite of the COVID situation. All right, if you'll turn to the next graph, that should be titled Expenditures for 2020. Your current expenditures, which are your day-to-day operating expenditures, made up 75% of your expenditures for the general government. That was about $20,580,000 worth of expenditures. Your debt service made up about 7.6%. That was a little over $2 million, which was consistent with the prior year. And your capital outlay was 17.5%, which that was about $4,800,000. That's up from about $2 million from the prior year, primarily related to, you bought a big piece of property for $1.8 million, which accounted for most of the increase for the year. Fire and police was about $1.8 million, and streets were about $500,000. All right, the next graph is breaking down your day-to-day operating expenses. Public safety is your biggest portion of day-to-day operating expenses, 57%. That's $11.8 million. General government is the second highest with 16.5% for 3.4 million, and stormwater and streets are 14.2%. That was about 2.9 million. These were fairly consistent with the prior year. There weren't really any big differences in expenditures from 2019 to 2020. Okay, the next graph is your salaries and wages. Public safety makes up the largest portion of your salaries and wages, 70%. That's $7.2 million. General government is second with $1.2 million, which makes up 11.7%, and streets make up 8.8%, which is about $1 million. These were fairly consistent. Public safety was up a little bit. I've got a little more information on that when we get to the trends. Your general government was down just a little bit, but I'll get into more details on that in a graph that's coming along a little bit later. Okay, the next graph is trends, revenue trends. You see you've had a strong increase in local taxes over the last 4 years. That shows your great how good the economy has been in Laverne, what new tax base you've been attracting, and that has really added to your fund balance over the years. Intergovernmental revenues were about the same. In fact, all the other revenues were about the same. You just showed the strong growth in your local taxes. Let's see if I got a little more detail on that. Let's see here. I had a little bit more. Okay, yeah, your sales tax was up $1,294,000. Your property taxes were up $280,000. Your business and beer taxes and et cetera were up $220,000. That's all shows good growth over the last 4 years. The next graph is your expenditure trends, and I think this shows pretty good financial management on your part. As you can see, all of those were pretty much stable except for capital outlay. You held your expenditures to just about what they were in 2019. The capital outlay, as I said, the biggest increase in that had to do with the land that you purchased last year, which was, as I said, was about 1.8 million, I believe. Okay, the next graph shows the current expenditure trends. It just breaks those down a little bit more. The general government was down a little bit. That was primarily due to some salaries being down for some vacant positions. Public safety was up just a little bit. Now, that was primarily related to fire salaries being up just a little bit. Everything else was pretty much flat. Streets are same. Health and wellness and recreation all remained about the same as they were in 2019. The next graph should be salaries and wages trends. As I said just a minute ago, the general government salaries were down just a little bit because of some vacant positions. The public safety was up about, let's see, they were up around $200,000 related primarily to fire. It was 199,000 fire salaries are up. The police was pretty consistent. And as I said, streets and stormwater were the same as prior year, as well as recreation, library, and health and wellness. Okay, the next graph is your medical insurance fund. The money you brought in, which are through premiums paid by the city into the fund, were $14,000 less than the expenditure. So you just pretty much had a break even for your medical insurance fund. Your medical insurance fund ended the year with a reserve of $876,000, which is a very good reserve. I think it's at a very, very safe position at that level. The next graph is water and sewer fund revenues and expenses. You had a profit in the water and sewer fund of about $1.49 million. That's after interest on your debt. That profit is needed to pay your principal on your debt, as well as provide funds for your improvements and expansions that you have underway. The debt service you paid off was about $1.3 million, which you had to have profit to pay that principal on the debt. Next graph just shows what your debt service requirements are over the next few years. As you can tell, after 2025, your general government debt is just about paid off. Your water and sewer debt is on a gradual decrease from now through 2033. The next graph shows your city and county tax rates. You had a reappraisal in 2019. That's what is reflected in the decrease from 18 to 19. There was a reappraisal, which the tax rate was adjusted down. But I think this also shows some pretty good management in that you've kept a very consistent property tax rate with no big increases in any one year. The last graph is your fund balance. Your fund balance, your unrestricted fund balance is up about $2 million. This is up primarily due to the sales and business taxes that were up. This counts for about 10 and a half months of operations. The rule of thumb is most cities like to have at least 6 months reserves. That's considered a healthy reserve. Y'all is at 10.5%, so y'all is very healthy, and you've been able to add to that over the last 3 years. Hadn't had to go into your fund balance, have any deficit spending into your fund balance in the last 3 years. So I think it just shows good health, especially during this uncertain times we're in now. I'm sure it made you sleep better at night knowing you had reserves no matter what you had to deal with coming out of these circumstances we're in. That completes my report. I apologize. This is kind of awkward doing it this way. I'm sure it's awkward on y'all's side as well. But I'll be glad to entertain any questions or go over anything any further if anybody has anything.
Any questions from any of the board members?
Yeah, Greg, appreciate you doing the hard work. I think y'all have done the audit ever since I can remember. I've been on the board since 2004, and it's and y'all have done a good job, and I appreciate it. This might be a Phyllis question, but do you know what the fund balance is, general fund balance is today?
What the fund balance is today?
Yeah.
What was the question?
The city's general fund balance.
The general fund balance is, I've got that here, hang on. The total fund balance is, get to it. I'll be there in just a second. Okay, the total general fund balance is $23.4 million.
Thank you, Greg. Great job. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? Greg, thank you so much. You have a wonderful evening.
All right. Thank y'all, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here. And like I say, I just wanted to say that you do have a good, competent staff, and they do a good job, and I appreciate working with them.
Thank you, sir. Moving on to new business. First reading, ordinance 2021-04, an ordinance to amend the City of Laverne zoning ordinance by changing the official zoning map for tax map 32, parcel 4, and tax map 29, parcels 40 and 41, consisting of approximately 226.35 acres located adjacent to the intersection of Blair Road and Waldron Road from an R1 low-density residential zoning district to a PDR, planned density residential zoning district. This received a favorable recommendation from the Planning Commission on January 26, 2021. A public hearing will be held at 6:30 on March 2nd, 2021. The applicant is proposing to build 654 homes on this property and is proposing 21.57 acres of commercial property along Waldron Road. They're proposing to dedicate approximately 2.5 acres to the city for a multi-use fire ambulance police facility along Waldron Road. Let's see here. The city would receive impact fees and property taxes from this development, and if the commercial property is developed, the city could receive sales taxes. The city would also obtain land for a fire station that would be needed in the future. There would be additional expenditures for road improvements and possible water and sewer line infrastructure improvements. The exact dollar amount is unknown at this time. Most of this would be dependent upon a development agreement that will be presented at second reading for approval by the board. Staff does not typically give recommendations on rezoning requests. This is the board's decision. So with all of that said, any questions, any discussion on this?
Chair, I think we have the group here. I'd like to hear what they've got to say and ask some questions.
As far as with BRS development?
Yes.
Okay, can we get a representative, please? If you would please state your name and address.
Terry Rasmussen, 2000 Mallory Lane, Franklin, Tennessee.
Coach?
Just run through a couple of questions. Can you just explain your plan of widening Walden Road from Blair Road down to the edge of your property, if you would, please?
So what we've set up is several phases of road improvements. The first phase would be the realignment of the S-turn at Lake Road to the southern part of our property line, taking out the hard turns that are there, readjusting the elevation as well to make that more safe. We would do those road improvements along with our Phase 1 development, which consists of 170 lots. We have proposed that we would not be able to receive a C of O on the first lot in that phase without those road improvements being completed and accepted by the city. Second phase would be the widening of Blair Road by a total of 8 feet. We would dedicate right away for a 3-lane section along Blair Road. We would widen the pavement by 8 feet, restripe for shoulders. That would happen in the Phase 2. We wouldn't receive a C of O on the 245th lot, I believe. The third phase would be the widening of Waldron Road from Lake Road to Blair Road. We would dedicate the right-of-way for a 5-lane section. We would construct 3 lanes as part of that, realignment vertically as per Kimley Horn's design. That would happen in the third phase of construction, and that's all the road improvements at this point in time. Part of the commercial piece that goes to the west side of Walden Road, that 1,000-foot section of the extension of Blair would be constructed in the Phase 3 section.
And just explain, if you would, the planned junction of Blair Road and Walden Road, how that would work with the potential of commercial going in there?
Sure. We would have several movements along Blair Road onto Waldron Road. There would be a straight through section going west, a right turn lane, a left turn lane, and then a through lane coming back to the east. Waldron Road would be widened with a left turn lane, a decel right turn lane coming from the south, and a right decel lane coming from the north as well, plus 2 through lanes.
The other concern that some people have had, including myself, is property values for the area. You want to explain what your thoughts or ideas are on that?
Yeah, I mean, we've been doing this several years. We've never seen property values decrease, even with product that may be smaller. Now, I know there's been some conversations about the square footage of our townhomes. We actually are above what's out there on the market today as an average. Your range on the market today runs from 900 square feet to 2,900 square feet. Our smallest product is 1,500. So typically with the product that we're building, materials we're using, all masonry product, hardy stone brick on the exteriors, AC units in the back, not in the front. Those things tend to increase values. We will have a sub-association for the townhomes. Therefore, all exterior maintenance of the building itself, plus all yard maintenance, would be handled by the HOA, as well as the villas. They'd have their own sub-association as well. Villas actually are age-targeted. That product tends to bring more per square foot because the finishes are higher. The maintenance is taken care of by the HOA. People tend to pay more for those. We've done a study out there. Houses that were built before 2020 are about $20 a foot less than new construction. So what I'm saying is new construction raises the value. So it's just not our experience that we've seen ever that new development would decrease the value of a neighborhood.
And just the other concern that one that I have is the getting the junction from Lake Road to the Smyrna junction. What's your thoughts or ideas on how we can handle it?
I mean, at this point in time, you know, we are just proposing to improve what is on our property. So we have not really spoken anything further about anything south of our property to Smyrna along Waldron Road.
That's all I had, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Any other questions? Developers?
Are y'all gonna plan on, ask for any, impact fee reimbursement on the,
Well, by your ordinance, it allows that.
yeah, but y'all are gonna ask for reimbursement with the impact fee for road improvement?
That is correct. By your ordinance, it allows us to do that. You passed an ordinance in November that specifically states that we're able to get those impact fees as credit.
So y'all gonna put the road in, basically with some of the impact fee money?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
So there's been conversation. I mean, let's call it what it is. Lots of conversation. Either through emails, text messages, social media. I'd gotten a text message the other day talking about the impact fees. Almost like some people didn't know what was going on. And I was shocked because I knew from day one that the impact fees were going to pay for the road. The biggest difference was you all were going to do the roads for probably 50% less than what the city could do them for. So that was kind of the agreement. So the impact fees were already in the making. Somehow or another, it got out there in space that that was a big secret now, that the impact fees were not going to, wasn't going to pay for it.
Right. And if I could speak to that point, when you talk about us doing the work as opposed to the city, it is about 50%. There's 40,000 yards of material on the S-turn that needs to be removed. The city would pay around $800,000 for that. We wouldn't pay anything for that. So when you talk about cost savings, just that first phase is $1 million to the city.
Right, but it's still, like I said, there was some misunderstandings about where the money was coming from and stuff. And
so the way that we're looking at this from a development agreement standpoint is we are going to do the work up front. We're going to spend all the money to make these improvements, but we are looking for reimbursement as you collect and give us credit for impact fees.
Now,
so that is correct.
Per our conversation today, you
Yes.
and
Dave.
Sorry, Dave, I forgot your name. You had said that more than likely you were going to come before us Tuesday and ask that we defer this so you can do another draft to present back to the Planning Commission. And hopefully, in my opinion, we're going to get rid of some more of those townhomes that I've been fighting with you about. You know I've been fighting with you, but being nice about it and professional, but I have been fighting about it. Is that a fair statement, or is this something that we need to concentrate on to try to make a vote on Tuesday night?
Well, at this point in time, we haven't deferred. So we anticipate coming back. Now, that's always an option to defer. If we don't hear certain things that we want to hear, or that we think we can get the votes, then it's very possible we will defer.
Because I'm going to fight to get rid of them townhomes.
I understand that, sir.
Okay.
Any other questions? I do have a question for Mr. Hunn.
Yes, sir.
I've heard a lot of back and forth about commercial feasibility in this area, whether this area could support grocer and commercial. What are your thoughts, because this is your profession?
My thoughts are the area is primed for a grocery anchored development. Probably not a 40,000 square foot or larger grocery, but likely something in the realm of 20,000 to 30,000 square feet for the grocery anchor, surrounded by smaller anchor orbiting tenants.
Okay. So you're saying that you think this is a prime location? Is that what you just said?
If we move quickly, yes. There are other areas north and south of this location that are being examined by various grocery chains, and there isn't enough rooftops for all of the areas being examined to facilitate a grocery anchor. So if we move quickly on this site, we can get a grocery anchor to come here to Laverne. If we don't move quickly, it wouldn't be here.
And with this proposal, if it's approved, for your construction of that area, would you have to wait till phase 4, or would you be able to move quicker?
I would move much faster than my associates are moving. I'm focusing on getting a grocery anchor on that corner as quickly as possible. As soon as I have sewer access, I'm moving.
Okay.
So how has, because I've personally not heard it, not to say that, I mean, I try to watch all those meetings and hang on to it, but rumors get started. Things get said. There again, I've seen, and I hope that when this comes out on YouTube tomorrow or whatever, that people will be watching and will hear these answers and questions. How did the rumor get started that the commercial, if this passes, how did the rumor get started that the commercial would not even come about for 7, 8, 10 years?
I do not know how such a rumor started, sir.
Okay. That's a fair answer to a really question that you know, I've heard all these rumors, I've heard all these statements. It's like things just come out of the blue, so.
If I may make a guess on how it started, the way that the plan is laid out labels the commercial and the extension of Blair Road. At one point, it was labeled as Phase 4, and there were notes attached to that's not really a note about the phasing order. It's just that was conceived of separately from the other phases, and they just had to label it something. I'm not marching in exact lockstep with my partners across the street. I'm a separate business. We are applying together, but I'm a separate parcel. I'm trying to get my commercial done. They're trying to get their homes done.
Okay, so same question.
So what we're
Terry or
doing
who?
for what he needs on his side is the sewer. So as a first part of our development, being the first 170 lots and the S-turn, is to bring the sewer up to basically the corner, which would basically allow him to move forward.
Yes.
But this is all timing, and also basically timing as it relates to securing a tenant.
So with your part of the commercial, what kind of time frame?
We plan on the first potential sale within 6 months of us closing the property.
See, that's not even
we
close
have-
to what I've been hearing.
So to be honest, we have a twice dailies. The same store that they built down on 24 and Walden Road, we've already negotiated contract with him.
Okay.
And therefore, the sewer coming up it benefits everybody for that corner. And not to mention, when we spoke to some of the staff, I mean, that generates, just that store generates $500,000 a year in tax revenue.
And whenever, Mr. Hahn, that will be written in your part of the agreement within that time frame. So if it passes, you can't say, well, I'm going to put this off for X
It
amount of time.
wouldn't benefit me to put it off because I have to close on my parcel the moment
And
that
I
we get
understand
zoned.
that, but the people listening at home want to hear a yes, that is exactly right type answer, you know.
Yeah, my plan, to be as crystal clear as possible, is to move on this the moment I have sewer. The moment I have sewer, I want to put shovels in the ground.
Which goes back to your original question, that would actually speed up the road improvements for that intersection. I'm sorry, it was Graham's question.
Any other questions for BRS Development or
Yeah, I got
Mr. Hunt?
a few, among other issues I got with this project, one thing I feel, that I was hoping it'd be more commercial out there. The one fear I have, this board passes this thing and it goes in, this and that's supposed to go in, a grocery store is supposed to go in there and this and that, but, it's possible, my fear is it's gonna get a gas station or 7-Eleven and a couple tobacco stores, and maybe a liquor store, it's no guarantee. And, I was, a project of this size, I was sort of, in the back of my mind, thought it would consist of more commercial.
If you look at just the design of just the 11 acres on the west side of Walden Road on the corner of Blair, that 11-acre piece can host up to 70,000 square feet of commercial. A grocery anchor in the realm of 20 to 30,000 square feet leaves a lot of room on the site for other things. There's room for 2 out parcels, and there's room for a rather large strip center to go with that as well. 11 acres is actually a lot of space for commercial, not even mentioning the commercial across the street on the other corner of Waldron and Blair.
So it's 140,000 total, which is quite a bit of space.
And if I could speak to the fact that with mixed-use developments in general, and this, you can look at any of them out there, the quality of commercial that comes with that is very high, because if you go out there and you just do the same product as everybody else, it takes longer for sure to complete the project. With the different product types that we're proposing, the project goes much faster, rooftops builds a commercial, values stay higher, therefore the tenant that you're gonna get on the commercial tends to be a higher producing tenant because of all masonry product, different diversity, road widenings. I mean, those things all come together. If you don't do those things, then you could get exactly what you're talking about.
Thanks for
That
asking my
property,
question.
Mr. Hahn, on the side that you're doing, is there more property there for you to buy later on if that becomes very successful?
That depends on the disposition of my neighbors, sir.
Okay, that's what I was saying. And also, and I understand,
There's a gentleman across the street from me on the other side of Blair that I entertained buying his property, but he's built a nice house for himself with a pool and everything, so
I know
it's a
him
bit
very well.
expensive.
I know all those people very, very well. So, matter of fact, I talked to one of them today about selling country eggs at their farmer's market, so I know them very well. What about what about the road that you're proposing that goes from Blair on through to Carruthers? Is that your deal? Whose deal?
All right.
is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
We can only agree to take Blair Road through my property. I can't speak for property beyond that. If the city wants to see it go beyond that, which I would certainly encourage, the people behind me would have to be the ones you speak to about that.
Who owns that property?
That's,
I believe it's Mitch Bowman's company.
yeah, that's right, yes. I'm sorry,
Okay.
that slipped my mind.
He owns one portion of it, and then there's also a parcel closer to Carruthers that is owned, and it's, at least looking at GIS today, there's not a house on it. It's a
And have you
wooded
spoken
area.
to these people?
Yes. He's not necessarily in favor of that particular road alignment, but he could be talked into it, yes.
I understand. You could be talking.
And just to comment on the uses permitted for commercial, I don't see anywhere in here a tobacco store as a use permitted. So that would not be one of the items that could come over there.
That's correct.
Currently, we are maxed out by population on liquor stores. Nope, we got one. We have one. Sorry. So that is out there. I do have one potential question for our Assistant City Administrator. when it comes, we've talked a little bit about the sewer lines going up there. But if at a later time the city decides that, if this goes through, this is all built out, if the city decides later on to take sewer through Walnut Ridge, which I believe they're all on septic tank, that is a possibility if that sewer line is up there. Is that correct?
It would be possible as far as connecting over to Blair Road. Now, Walnut Ridge, of course, if you've been out, you know, I know you've been in the area, but you've got a lot of cul-de-sacs that kind of go, the elevations did not, you wouldn't do gravity sewer. We'd have to come up with a different solution as far as getting that area to all drain to a, you know, a location we have a pump station or something. But the sewer line that they're installing, or that they would install with this project, does cover that entire basin. And kind of like what Mr. Hahn is saying is, right now, he doesn't have sewer without putting in a pump station and going back over the hill into the subdivision on the other side. So basically, right now, he's left with, he's waiting for someone to bring sewer. Terry is not going to bring sewer on this property unless he gets approved. If he gets approved, he'll run the sewer, then the commercial could develop.
But it's something that the city could consider at a later time if it's run up to that area.
It would be possible, but like I say, it's not going to be gravity. It would have to be pump stations and a few other things to be able to get that area off of septic.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody else have any other questions for BRS? Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Does anybody else have any questions or comments about this project? Hearing none, moving on to Resolution 2021-05, a resolution of the City of Laverne Board of Mayor and Aldermen to declare property owned by the city to be surplus to the city's needs, directing disposal of the same. And I believe we've got a couple of vehicles. Police Department has 2 city-owned vehicles that are no longer needed. Both are high-mileage vehicles. It's a 2005 Chevy Trailblazer. The other is a 2008 Chevy Impala. Does anyone have any questions about this? Hearing none. Moving on to Resolution 2021-06, a resolution to write off Water Department bad debts. And this is something that we do every year. The current amount is $167,041.66. Everyone should have a copy in their packet of all of the people who this is involved. If you do know any of them, feel free to reach out to them and have them contact the water billing department. I know each year we wind up picking up just a few from board members reaching out to individuals they know. So, moving on to number 9. This is Resolution 2021-07, a resolution to disclaim interest in an existing public utility easement located at and adjacent to 121 Charter Place. This is tax map 29, parcels 2.02 and parcels 2.08. The engineer for Thornton's Development has requested this on behalf of the owner, that the city formally abandoned the easement located at the northern edge of both parcels that runs parallel to I-24. The city has no utilities and no plans for utilities to be run in this easement. There's no gas, fiber, or communication utilities provided for in this easement according to the survey. The only provider utilizing the easement is Middle Tennessee Electric. They were providing service to a substation which will be removed as it is no longer necessary for the proposed usage. This has 0 cost. Does anyone have any questions? Hearing none, moving on to appoint or remove board and committee members. First up, we have Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee. We have 3 terms vacant. We have 2 terms that expired in January, on January 31st, 2021. And then we have 1 term become vacant as Mr. Bob Simon did pass away. So we currently have multiple candidates, including Deborah Balthrop, Mary Jane Skinner, Rick Autry, Susan Anthony, Laura Davidson, Giles Perry, and John Skinner. Should have all their information in your packet. Any questions or comments?
I got one question for Bruce. Bruce, I called you earlier in the, probably last week. Did you ever check on that, deal I told you about the?
Yes, sir, I laid the paperwork in front of you tonight, and I sent an email out a couple days ago about that to all of the board members.
Appreciate it.
And that was in regards to as far as
Who has the authority to
who has the
make
authority to appoint
Right.
board members.
Mhm.
Thank you. Moving on, Senior Citizens Advisory Committee. We have one term that expires at the end of February. That is Rick Autry. We do not have any other applicants at this time. We have contacted him. He would like to remain on this committee. We have been advertising this position on Channel 3 and Facebook and have not received any other applications at this time. C, Local Emergency Planning Committee. We've got 2 terms vacant. We have, of course, the Police Department, which we're holding off on until the chief position is filled. Also, Greg Purcell has requested that he be replaced with Danny Campbell as the Water Treatment Plant representative. Any questions?
Just representative just to come here and talk and give us reports?
No, this would be for the Local Emergency Planning Committee that Alderman Coates chairs.
I got you.
Okay, moving on to Mayor and Alderman comments. Alderman Waldron.
I got a few, it might be the rule that the mayor appoints or removes the board members, but it's on, other than the planning commission, it's the board have to vote on it. So I think, right or wrong, if anybody disagrees with the mayor, we vote yes or no, so, we're in the same bucket, And another thing too, I've asked Bruce a number of times and to put on the vote that remove the mayor, the hiring and the firing, and the mayor has removed it. The hiring of the mayor, over the few months, we've had 2 people to sue the city for over $500,000, pay out the lawsuits, with the, just firing of the HR director, Cheryl Lewis Smith, and the mayor gave no reason to dismiss her. What is that gonna cost the city? Since everyone knows Cheryl Lewis Smith and other employees, I hate to mention this word, but they was on the hit list of the coal train during the election. And, that being said, I feel strongly that we need to, the board members can do it. If the mayor will put it on the board to move the hiring and firing from the mayor to the city administrator. I know when I was mayor, me and Bruce talked about that at length, and I was lucky when I was mayor. We didn't have many lawsuits on employees. I know we come close 2 or 3 times, but these lawsuits, this over $500,000 the city just paid out. How many police and how many fire was that paid for? Hopefully, Cheryl Lewis Smith won't be a lawsuit, but if it is, how much is that going to cost? And I feel strongly about this, and the board members, it's up to y'all. If we get sued, it might fall on Jason's shoulder, but we're in the same boat. If we sit here and let it happen, we're just as guilty as anybody. And I hate to bring this up, but I tried to put it on the agenda, but the mayor pulled it off. And, this might be something we don't need to air out during the meeting and workshop, but I got no more avenue to go to. And, I feel strongly about, lawsuits. When I was mayor, I had a 5-point section. If somebody comes and wanted somebody to fire, I went through the department head. If he was on board, I went to the HR director. And if they was on board, I went to the city administrator, and then I made the decision. But I never made a decision on nothing unless all 5 was on board. But, you know, that was just the way I done it. And I'm gonna step down off my footstool, and I done said my piece. So whatever happens, my conscience is clear. Thank you.
Alderman Coates.
No comments tonight, sir. I'm good.
Thank you. Alderman No?
Mr. Bob Simon, just wanted to bring him up again, and your prayers and everybody say good things. Alderman Waldron bringing up the coal train, that's 2.5 years ago. Let that go. The mayors have always been, since I've been in Laverne, all mayors have had certain duties and certain things that they have to follow. And as long as they stay in that rim of things, you know, everybody's got to make tough decisions. I could sit here and go over a list of things that I felt like was bad during certain terms for all the mayors, but I'm not going to bring that up. That's water under the bridge. We can bring it up, though, if you want to. So anyway, I think Jason's doing a pretty good job. He's made some mistakes. Me and him don't agree on everything. We don't get along on everything, but it's not personal. It's just business. That's it.
Vice Mayor Brown.
Yes, I want to congratulate the finance team on another fine job that they've done again this year, passing the audit with flying colors as always and with high commendations, and that means a lot. To know that the city's financial business is being handled in such a proficient, efficient, and professional manner is really speaks highly for that team. So congratulations to all the members of that team. And also, I want to just say again, congratulations to the members of the fire department that were pinned tonight, those that were newly pinned, and also the ones that received their promotion. Well deserved, and I just wanted to congratulate you. Thanks.
Thank you. Well, I will first off congratulate the finance department. That's an amazing job. We keep having year after year of amazing financial audits. So very good job to all of our staff on that, especially our finance department. Do want to commend the police chief. I know he was recently recording an interview where we have another group that's looking to donate some money and help raise some funds for police canine units, and I believe they're partnering with Box 100 to help get that here. So that's an amazing thing, and we appreciate everybody in the community and everyone literally around the nation that's stepped up and shown their support for our police officers. So again, thank everyone for that. To address as far as the board appointments, quite frankly, whether or not past mayors have ever followed what we have written in our ordinance, that's their choice. For me, I always believe that if it is written, we follow it. That's why we have a process. We follow that process. So, and as far as the hire and fire, yes, I have denied that from the agenda. I did that right after Alderman Waldron was reelected to office, not just here recently, and that has been the regular norm. In the last 2 months, we haven't had $500,000 that was said in payouts. So that's interesting as far as how that goes. I do consult with our city administrators, our city attorney on these decisions. It's not just a throw something out. So I separate friendships and feelings from business. As Alderman No said, this is strictly business here at the city, and we're trying to provide the best services that we can for our residents. With that,
Wait
call
a
this
minute,
meeting.
Mr. Mayor. If anybody deserves a shout out, anybody in this city deserves a shout out. After last week's debacle, Garland Russell.
Yes.
Sir, I don't know what to say. I know you hung in there with, and I talked with Garland a little bit, and he got a few broke down vehicle issues. So,
Garland, have you stopped shaking yet from the plow truck?
he come
Thank
out
you.
of the house and you can hear that thing rattling.
Yes, thank you for what you do, as well as all of your staff that was out there in the snow, sometimes getting stuck, but still making it through. So we appreciate everything that they do. But with that, call this meeting adjourned.